Hi, welcome to the what do I call it? This is gonna be a deck tech for my Flicker Legendary Flicker 5-color EDH deck. Um, I actually would say it's like a Flicker slash ETB deck. Enters the battlefield deck. If you're not aware what Flicker is, it is when there's a ton of cards that say like exile a creature and return it to the battlefield, sort of like goes flickering in and out of existence or something. That's what Flicker is. There's slow, which is it comes back at the end of turn or maybe your upkeep. And there's fast, which is more sometimes called blink, which just comes back immediately as the effect resolves. It's based on an old card called Flicker, which is like a sorcery, exiles a creature and turns it to the battlefield. And then it's just history from there. It's also sort of melding into an ETB deck that doesn't necessarily need Flicker. I sort of like Flicker just for like the fun of it, like the options. Sometimes it can go out, snowball out of control, but really you probably don't need much Flicker these days because a lot of the powerful cards that we used to play are sort of outclassed by these cards that say double your ETB triggers, like enter the battlefield triggers. Like for example, Shieldred says whenever it enters the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices a non-token creature or planeswalker. So if you have Elshinorn, Mother of Machines out, it'll get 2 triggers of that. You don't have to spend any additional resources. It just like sort of just does it. But those cards are sort of prone to being removal targets. So it's nice to always have these sort of janky, inefficient sort of ways to get those effects again. And there's really only 4 of those right now. So I'm going to go over the deck. There's going to be different sections for each thing I'm doing. And yeah, first we're going to start off with the commander. I actually choose 4 commanders for this. I let my opponents choose which one. I have them here in order from weakest to strongest, in my opinion. Kaidai still have Kamigawa, the only ETB legendary here. When it enters the battlefield, another target permanent you control gets indestructible as long as you control Kaidai. It has flash and flying for a 3/3. And then we have Eshkagata Tree / the Prismatic Bridge. It's getting value or ramp, whichever you need, more important at the time. Then we have Joda the Unifier. Gets a legendary Cascade and overruns our legendaries. And last but not least, is to say Weatherlight Captain. Gets 1/1 for each legendary, and then I can pay 5 to search for a legendary card that costs less than her power. So these are all pretty good. I think Sisei's probably best because even though she is considered very, I think by people in the know, very powerful, Joda snowballs, but Sisei definitely has the tutor ability that Joda really needs to snowball and survive, right? So Sisei's cheaper as well, and she can do it instant speed, which so you can grab like Venser, Shaper Savant, Waratai Resurrected, counter spells. You can do other things, get rid of creatures, bring out Carter or Lavinia or whatever. Instant speed to mess with your opponent's board. Lots of great things, and instant speed is like really what gets it. But we're not really building to any of these creatures. They're just here to sort of be let the opponent sort of have fun. This is not a build around commander deck. This is a build around strategy. So with that out of the way, let's get some necessary cards out first. We have Ramp, we got Birds of Paradise, Delayed Halfling, Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Belwar Stone, 3 Visits, Nature's Lore, Bloom Tender, Nissa Resurgent Animist, Relic of Legends, Fabor Elder, The Ring Goes South. That's all of our hard ramp. We also have Dork, Nature's Warden, Soul of Windgrace, and Omnath, Locus of Creation. We are playing a good threshold. We're playing all the forest, dual shocklands, and tri-lands, and also a basic forest in the deck. I'll get to that eventually, but We're also playing 10 fetch lands, so these two work well with that. This is, we could be playing more low to the ground. We could be playing more aggressive, ramp and whatnot. But I sort of like the bursts of Vapor Elder and Bloom Tender, and even Relic of Legends, Omnath, stuff like that, than sort of the consistency that we get out of maybe more like Mana Rocks or Mana Dorks getting in early. I just want to play what's going to get me the most or most colors. Next we have removal. We got Shieldred, just Shieldred. Eowyn Fearless Knight. I'm not sure on this card still. There's a lot of games where I play it and it just does nothing. And then there's some games where I play it, or I could play it and I choose not to because I don't want to piss someone off or like ruin their whole strategy, you know. Urtai Resurrected, Lorna of the Third Path, Venser Shaper Savant, and we have 3 non-UTB related cards. Teferi Time Raveler, Isildur's Faithful Strike, and Oko Thief of Crowns. So these are also all legendaries. Do have some play in the deck. There are cards that tutor legendaries or have legendary matters cards. Isildur's Faithful Strike, I'm still testing it. I have had it used it once. It's okay. It's not the best rate. Not that I really care too much because Urtai and Venser are also 4 mana, but it can get in there potentially once in a while. I don't know. You can also recur Samwise Gamgee. Same for the other two. Teferi's just like really good as like some counter spells as well. Oko is just like the best removal in the entire format and for creatures and artifacts, in my opinion, especially commanders. I try not to play it too early or against people who are like playing really powerful commanders. Like the other night, I was playing against what was her name? I just showed her. Sisay Weatherlight Captain deck, and they grabbed, you know, the Chromatic Orrery, and then grabbed a Kuma's Memorial after that. And that didn't seem fair, but they were just kind of like low on lands, and I could have blown up their commander, kind of fucked their entire strategy, but they're playing shrines or other sort of situations, and it's like these are very political and like targeting cards, you know. So you have to play them really smartly, or else you're just gonna lose. They don't snowball hard enough that they're gonna win you the game, right? Once someone gets a threshold of creatures out, multiple people even, these cards are very, very soft. And yeah, so that's my removal suite. Just 8 pieces right there. But there are a lot of tutors in the deck, so you can easily get more. I'll go to those next. We've got Rocco Cabaret Caterer, Thales Lancers, Time of Need, Ring Sight, War of the Last Alliance, and Search for Glory. In this deck, I'm only playing tutors that either have ETB effects like Rocco, or that get legendary cards. I am not playing any like demonic tutor, even though I have one, etc., because I want that to be relevant to the type. I guess you could consider Ring Sight ETB matters, but it also makes a creature legendary, like my Mana Dorks or whatnot, which can be relevant in certain situations. So I do like playing it for that, at least. And yeah, these are just sort of here to make the deck flow a little better. Some of them are clunky, like War of the Last Alliance. If I was going to do anything of these, I would probably take out the 3 sorceries and the Saga. I'll just keep the 2 creatures because they're more on theme. Maybe put some more removal or some draw in, but these are on theme, sort of. And I like that, so I'll keep playing until it's just too much, and yeah, that's it for those. Next we have our Flickering and ETB and clones. Okay, so first got the Flicker stuff. Play Aminato the Flake Shifter, Brago King Eternal, Yorion Sky Nomad, Nahiri's Resolve, Ephemerate, Gilrain Dundane Protector, Elniel the Blessed, Abel Adrian, Gorian's Ward, and Thassa Deep Dwelling. I try to keep him to his legendary as much as possible. Gilran is definitely a new boon to the deck. I'd only started making this deck based off of some of the cards that you'll see here soon, like Samwise and mainly based on Samwise, Gamgee, and Gandalf the White. This deck mainly surrounds, those are sort of like the linchpins that hold together. This deck still has play without that, but it would just be more of a pet deck at that point. Those give it reason to actually play these cards, because then suddenly I can recur anything in my grave, or everything has flash and double ETB and leaves the battlefield triggers. So those definitely have a lot more play in this deck than other decks, and I think it's really fun. But coming back to these, I mean, I also kind of sort of his ramp. Brago is kind of slow, but if he gets in there, he gets in there hard, as people know. Yorion the Sky Nomad is also okay card. Gilrain is okay. Emil is probably the best card here outside Eminato or Thassa. There are some like infinite combos we can do with Urza and some other like artifact producing cards, but that's not why Emil's in here. Emil's in here just to blink creatures. And Abel Adrian is pretty good with if we have any of these other ones here. And then Thassa blinks one card end of turn and has other play. Just a very good blink card, and it's indestructible. That's the only reason I'm playing it, is because it's indestructible, to be honest. Not because it's legendary, not because of all the other text. Because it's indestructible, it's hard to get rid of. Often these kind of cards, you really want the burst rather than the simmer. So giving indestructible gives her a lot more survivability. The other ones, like Teleportation Circle and Conjurer's Closet, don't have. Notice you got Hero's Resolve and Ephemerate as a non-legendary cards. Ephemerate is just here, and Hero's Resolve is just here, mainly because I want to test Hero's Resolve, and so far it's proven very powerful. Ephemerate is here because it's just pure value. It's a 2-for-1. We don't really need to recur it, and we can't really recur it that easily with like Eternal Witness, so it's just great by itself. And it's just really cheap too. And the Hero's Resolve also gives us other play, gives us haste, and boosts our team a little bit. It's gives a little aggro to the deck, and I like that a lot. So yeah, those are the blink type cards. And we got 3 clone type cards here. We got Sakashima of 1,000 Faces, Sakashima the Imposter, and Kadric Soul Kindler. The first 2 just come in as copies of any legendary, but they have one has its own name and the other denies the legendary rule. And Kadric denies the legendary rule for tokens, and whenever a non-token legendary permanent enters the battlefield, permanent is important because we can copy like Oko and Amanatu and Teferi and other things. You can pay 1 and create a copy of it, and it has haste since beginning. The next end step, it's sacrificed. And these cards are mainly here to give like double play to certain very powerful ETB cards, or to double up or quadruple up on ETB triggers and whatnot. And yeah, I generally don't like a lot of clones in my ETB decks or Flicker decks, because if you have too many and not enough good targets, you just have like a, I don't know, like an Elvish Visionary or something, it's not gonna be that great. But if you have a good threshold of like powerful cards, like the Avenger of Zendikar or something, you're gonna be, and you have a couple of these in here to sort of double up on it, it's gonna be very powerful. It sort of blows people out of the water sometimes because they don't expect an EDH, a second copy, right? Although Kadric is more, you can actually like see it coming. But and then we got doublers here. We got the classic Panharmonicon, the one that started it off. Doubles artifact ETB triggers. And then we have the second one that came out, Yark the Desecrated. Does the same exact thing, except for any permanent. And then the third one is actually it's Peregrine Dynamo. This is sort of a doubler. It's sort of like a Stronic Resonator for legendary cards. It can copy activated abilities too, so Oko, watch out. It has haste, so you can do it immediately. And it's legendary itself. It's not necessarily a doubler, it's more of like a Kadric type situation, but you can use this repeatedly over the turns, for the same cards. So I can put it in a doubler slot. Then they released Elshnorn, Mother of Machines. Doubles all your permanent triggers and prevents your opponent from doing any permanent triggers. I would prefer if this card didn't do that, to be honest, because people sort of get on this card about that. Sometimes it hates people out. Sometimes if they're playing a clone deck, they can copy this and destroy the entire strategy. So it's like, I wish there was a way to not have that problem. But we play it because it just does win games, and it's really powerful in our deck. So the last one, I don't have it yet. I don't even have a proxy for it made because I got the art card. Is Gandalf the White. Has Flash. If you don't know what it does, it's a 3 white Avatar Wizard. Has Flash for 4/5, and gives all your other legendary and artifact spells Flash. Excuse me. And whenever a legendary or artifact card on the battlefield enters or leaves the battlefield, you can double that trigger. Or you double that trigger. It's not a can ability. Yeah, so it's just another doubler, and it works for only legends and artifacts. And I don't really want to play as a commander. I want to play all the fun cards. They're all different colors. And I want to play all these other cool cards here, like Garrick, Elshnorn, and some red cards. So I choose 5 colors for that. There's not really a commander for it yet. I can see it coming, but for now we just have Legendary Matters commanders or Kaidai. And Kaidai kind of sucks, so I kind of like that underwhelmingness, not putting like a target on my back, you know. But yes, we'll get to Sam next. We have some Recursion in the deck, and Samwise Gamgee, and Samwise is Stout-Hearted. If you don't know what either of these do, I'll explain them real quick. They both cost 2. And whenever, for Gamgee, whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under control, you create food. You can sacrifice 3 foods to return a historic card from your graveyard to your hand. So any legendary artifact or saga. And same as Stout-Hearted has Flash. When it enters the battlefield, choose 1 target permanent from your graveyard that was put from the battlefield this turn, return it to your hand, and the ring tempts you. So Samwise I haven't really tested yet, but the Stout-Hearted I mean. But Gamgee is the real deal, very threatening. Unfortunately, there's not really any way in the deck to get Gamgee back himself. I could include like maybe an Ewit or something like that, but there's no like on-theme card I can really play besides Stout-Hearted. It's kind of weird that he's picking up his own body. So I just play these. I'm testing the Stout-Hearted. Also love the art. Then we have some like value or draw. In terms of single draw, we have Fibblethip the Lost and Gonti Lord of Luxuries. Fibblethip can also draw 2 if it gets off the top or from the search from the deck. There's only 1 card that would target Fibblethip, which is Ephemerate in the deck, so we don't really need to worry about the second ability too much, because it's only with spells, not abilities. And they just draw cards, get value, just sort of grease the deck up a little bit. Not too exciting, or sometimes use like Nahiri's Resolve for Yorion, stuff like that, Brago. Sometimes you just need like some of those cards that just give you like 1 or 2 draws to make it valuable for them to attack. And these do the job well in their Legends for other Legends Matter cards, and I like them. They're definitely cuttable though. And then for the non-cuttable cards, we have the Great Henge, Atraxa Grand Unifier, Mightstone and the Weak Stone, and Radagast the Brown. So the Great Henge is kind of awkward in the deck, but we don't really mind playing it later in the game, to be honest. I don't include the Guardian Project here because I felt like it would draw too much, or draw too much hate, or it just wasn't as on theme as I wanted. Excuse me. And so that's why I included the Great Henge here. It's legendary, etc. It also ramps a little bit, which is nice. When you play it down, you definitely have a better chance of winning the game than when just playing the Guardian Project and passing, right? Atraxa is a similar situation. Kind of expensive, late game draw, but you have a pretty good chance to win the game if you play it. And Might Stone and Weak Stone. This one you can draw 2 or to kill a creature, and you can tap 2 for non-artifact spells or any ability. So it's actually, I've had a couple of situations where I could have used Mythical Rain, and it's pretty cool synergy there. But this is just another card. There is a Mount Doom in the deck, so we can copy that. We can use that ability to board white. There's also like a harder to deal with like Flicker target, right? Because it comes in and suddenly like your opponents can't really deal with it efficiently. It doesn't really threaten, which is good, but people know to kill the Maul Drifter or the Sky, the green, blue, white one. So this deck really needs something like this to, like a 5-mana spot to get more cards, and this definitely works well with it. Radagast the Brown is a new card I also don't have. If you don't know what it does, it's a 2/3 for a 2/5. Whenever it or another non-token creature enters the battlefield in your control, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is that creature's mana value. Reveal a creature card that you don't share a creature type with with a creature you control from among those cards and put it into your hand. Let's go on the bottom in random order. It's not really surprising with this to like look at a top 20. The most populous, I think, is humans in the deck, but it's a lot of the powerful cards like Atraxa. There's no other types that share a type with it, so it's very easy to get draws off of this. And you really want to do every single card. Sometimes people would like to dismiss, but I did play like a 1-mana Birds of Paradise and top decking Atraxa with it, so you can definitely get there with this card. This card in this deck and many others I think is better than Genesis Product. It's more recurable, more easy to find. Maybe it's a little bit more soft removal, but it's also like not guaranteed to get you cards technically, right? So people might look at that. Some people might look at that and like not think of it as big of a threat as like a Genesis Project or Guardian Project. I mean, I keep saying the wrong words. So that's sort of like the draw. Remember, we have all those tutors in the deck. We could play move the tutors. I would probably put more draw in the deck, to be honest. Yeah. We have some Legends Matter cards here. The one hard board wipe in the deck is Urza's Ruinous Blast. It has legendary sorcery for exile all non-land permanents that aren't legendary. Then we got Dahada, Binder of Wills. I'm not going to explain it, but we mainly play it for the -3. You add any number of the top 4 Legends legendary cards to our hand. And all the rest go to the grave and create a treasure for each we don't choose. So this is both ramp and card draw, and it protects our creatures, and it's a planeswalker, so it's harder to deal with in certain situations. And then last but not least, we have what is it called? Shoot. I forget what it's called. But anyways, Camille's Druid Vow, legendary sorcery. Look at the top X cards of your library. You may put any number of lands and or legendary permanent cards with conveyor mana cost extra less among them on the battlefield. But the rest into the grave. So this is just a really great card, a really great top end, a really great card to ramp into. Remember, we have all those we have all those tutors in the deck too. All of our deck is basically legendary, so this and Urza's Ruinous Blast are basically have no conditions. We can recur this with Samwise, Gamgee, and Urza's Ruinous Blast. So these cards all have a lot of play in the deck. Very powerful, not too hard to get to set up, and they just win the game sometimes. It's not like an expropriate type win the game situation, but I've cast Kamal's Druidic Vow multiple times now for like over 7, and just like went ham. You know, it's a very powerful card. And last but not least, it's sort of like the good stuff cards. Good stuff flicker targets and whatnot. We got Perforos, got a Forge. One of the main reasons to play red as a flicker. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under control, deal 2 damage each opponent. So this is sort of like a win condition, sort of. We can win through combo. Well, yes, we can win through combo, but that's not our main win condition. Is either this or this is if we get like Kamal's Druidic Vow, we generally will play towards this. Otherwise, we generally try to play with like Doric or something like that, or if we're having playing Joda as our commander, we'll play more towards combat. But this is one of the main win conditions in the deck. Another win condition is Atali, Primal Conqueror. When it enters the battlefield, each player exiles cards from top of their library until they get a non-land card, and then I can cast any number of spells from among the non-land cards this way without paying their mana cost, and it flips over for 9 mana into a Blightsteel Colossus. So that is a threat that can kill people very quickly out of nowhere. It also protects you, advances your board. You can win with the cards you cast off the top. Another sort of win condition would be Carter Doomscourge. When it enters the battlefield, it super goes your opponents, so they have to, all their creatures, even ones that come in later, have to attack your opponents, and another player have to attack another player if able. So this just sort of like locks the board for any like aggro decks or combat damage winning decks. It's very powerful, very much a boogeyman in the deck that people, when they see it, they just try to kill it instantly, because usually we're in a position where it's going to buy me enough turns to, and usually they have went through combat or whatever, or even if they don't went through combat, they can't hit me to like knock me out together or something like that. So it's just very good that way. Then we have Lavinia of the 10th. This is sort of another stall card. It's pro-red, if it matters. And when it enters, detain each non-land permanent your opponent's control with converting mana cost 4 or less. If you don't know what detain is, I don't begrudge you for that. It is from Return to Ravnica set. There was a couple of cards, like, you know, for limited and whatnot, but this is in the last set of the block. I mean, it's Return to Ravnica block. This is in the last one, Dragon's Maze, and this card makes it so that each non-land permanent your opponent's control that costs 4 or less can't activate abilities or attack or block. So it allows you to get in against like token decks, against artifact decks. You just knock down their entire thing. Unlike Carter, this only affects cards when it comes out. But if you're playing Sisay or something, you can easily just like play this against an opponent, and then they force them to do whatever they're doing, and sort of just like lock them down for the rest of the turn. That's sort of like a silence type effect in some ways. This will not stop, and it's not great against. Carter's better against like aggro decks, like maybe Rourke Thar. But this is better against more of sneaky decks that try to play like a lot of mana rocks or dorks and try to get through that way. So, and then the last 2 cards are Tivit, Seller of Secrets, and Orza, Lord High Artificer. They both work together. You can see the infinite combo here with Emil the Blessed very easily, because you just create a bunch of tokens of Tivit, tap them for mana. For Urza, create infinite tokens with Emil by flickering Tivit, and then you just play your entire deck of Urza. That's not the intention of the deck. If I was going to remove any of these 6 cards here, it would probably be Tivit, But Tivit has a bunch of redeeming features. Urza obviously also works with Samwise Gamgee and some other cards. But and just like provides you like a do nothing type of thing. Like you don't want to play a threat in your hand, you can just like shuffle the top, play it, maybe get a land for a turn or something. A Tivit is a sturdy body. It's ward, so it's a little bit hard to get rid of. Has flying, so it can block a lot of relevant creatures in the format, or a lot of like just like chaff that gets through to poke damage or something, right? And it ramps, and it can draw you cards. So it has a lot of different angles it can take. Plus, it can get in through combat damage, activate its ability. It's definitely there's a lot of redeeming features, and that's why I'm currently playing it. I'm not sure. I'll go over very quickly after I go through the lands any cards I'm not sure on, and sort of explain to you why. I've tried to as I was going through it, but there's definitely more reasons to not play them, right? So let's get them out right now. See how they sort of work together to maybe like create like an unfun sort of strategy, you know? Okay. So I'll get to these in a moment. We're going to go over the lands. So it's very simple. Play all 10 shocks. We're playing all 6. No, it doesn't matter. All 6 forced triomes. And all 10 fetches. Playing all of them. That's the core of the deck. Is those 26 cards. Then for fun and like theme, we're playing all 5 of the legendary channel lands. Obviously, if I was gonna cut any of these, it would be I might get rid of Takunuma. I might keep Takunuma. That's like one of the few ways. It's like the only way besides other Sam to get back Sam from the grave. But Sokenzan, a Ganjo are kind of irrelevant, right? They can get there sometimes. And then we're also playing Mount Doom. So if you don't know what this card is, it's a tap, pay 1 life, add red or black, just for a legendary land. You can also pay 1 red, black, and tap it to deal 1 damage to each opponent. And you can play 5 black, red, tap, sacrifice it and a legendary artifact, which is why we're still playing our Might Stone and the Weak Stone. Choose up to 2 creatures, destroy the rest. To be only as a sorcery, so it's a board wipe on a land, and it really only requires us to play like at least 1 or 2 legendary artifacts in the deck, right? So it's really not much of a, and that's only if we want to activate it, right? It still has play as legendary land. We can get it with the Hada. It can ping opponents if that's ever relevant. There's basically no reason not to play it, right? Only other lands we're playing in the deck that actually ping us are the fetch lands. It's only 1 time, and the shock lands, it's only 1 time. So we're not playing like Mana Confluence to Sea to Brass, so we don't have to worry too much about this. And now we're playing a couple other lands. We got the Forest as a 1 basic in case someone, I like having one just in case someone passed or something. Or Boseiju we can get tri-lands, but in case someone passed. And we're playing Forest because we can give Dork. And the last 3 are just rainbow lands. We got Command Tower, Great Hall of the Citadel, which you can pay 1 and tap it to add 2 mana of a combination of colors to only for legendary spells though. And we got Pause of Heroes, tap for 1 color for only legendary spells, and it has utility in that it can protect a legendary creature for a turn if we pay 3 and exile it, tap it. So those are the lands. Pretty self-explanatory, I think. I don't think this. If we were gonna cut things, it would probably be the tri-lands for more rainbow lands like City of Brass, Mana Confluence, Reflecting Pool, and maybe one other thing, maybe keep like 1 or 2 tri-lands. But otherwise, I think this man base has been really good. We don't have to worry too much. We only have 6 mono-colored lands in the deck. And yeah, there's a lot of different ways that you could build a mana base in 5-color. And I just love the fetch land version. So I always try to praise it. I think if you're gonna buy things, if I'm just gonna go into this real quick, if you're gonna buy things or invest in like EDH staples, I'd probably do lands like fetches and shocks. Probably the second or third batch of cards, right? Like the first one should always be like the glue, right? Like the 2 mana ramp spells and artifacts, and like any like synergy cards or like powerful commanders, removal, etc. Most of that stuff's pretty cheap, to be honest. Maybe the commander will be $40 if it's like really powerful, like Atraxa used to be, but it's not going to be too much. Then the second one, if you want to compete a little better, have a little bit more play, maybe you buy the Ristic Studies, the Fish, the Fierce Guardianships and whatnot. Obviously, you're going to wait till Commander Masters, but a lot of those cards will add a lot of grease to the deck that you might otherwise not have the deck building experience to find in like commons and whatnot. Then I'd probably go for lands, just to like you're never gonna not use them, right? Like when are they gonna print something better than a shock land? They print tri-lands, right? But those aren't better than shock lands. And shock's always gonna go if you're playing fetches. If you want to have at least one good solid deck or 2 that's like 3-color or 4-color or 5-color even, you're gonna want to get those fetches, and they're most of them, half of them are cheap right now. The other half are not as expensive as they were when I first started playing. So I think this is a good time to buy fetch lands. Maybe they'll reprint like the other half of the fetch lands that they printed the Modern Horizons 2 and Commander Masters or something, just to grease their wheels. But I doubt it. But it could happen, so I just wait till Commander Masters comes out. Anyways, that little thing, I'm gonna just little sidetrack there. But I'll just bring out these cards from experience or just in theory. I'm not sure if I want to keep, but they're sort of the first cards that would come out first, right? So the 4 non-ETB Legends Matter tutors. War Last Alliance is pretty slow, to be honest. Gets you 2. The last one probably usually doesn't matter because you want to play this early in the game. You're never tutoring this, right? So this is probably the one I'd cut first out of all these cards. Oh, I'm sorry. We have this here. Then probably Ring Sight, just because it's more of like a generic tutor, because you can make any card, creature you control, and just like a legend, and then with the ring tempts you. So it's not. I'd rather just play like a Dawn tutor over it, but I'm not. So and the next one would be the other 2, just like a principle. Once I understand the deck better and what like I need, I will be able to cut them. Maybe just add more card draw interaction. I'll probably add 3 more card draw, 1 more interaction with all this said and done, and yeah, that's sort of the little bit on the tutors. I just personally don't enjoy like non-land tutors that much. By not that I mean like anything that gets like a non-land card, right? Or like any card. They are really helpful. They do make the deck more consistent, but and it's usually not the tutor itself, but what you're getting that wins the game, right? So even if you don't have the tutors and you're putting draw in there, you're probably gonna have a better chance of getting that thing regardless, or like living long enough. But in terms of removal or board wipes, so it's not really about like that the tutors are ruining the deck, but like more variance, right? But maybe I want to have enough play of this deck that like the variance isn't what matters as much. Because like half the time when I'm using these, I'm just getting Radagast or something so I can get more creatures. So it doesn't really matter as much. Still doing the variance thing. Or I'm just getting something that wins the game. It's really late. So people don't have to suffer through it. So that's a little bit on tutors there. They're very cuttable. Gonti and Fibblethip, like I said, they sort of greased the wheels. I did play a game last night. The person was just like a little irritated or just like out of principle, didn't like that I was playing Gonti and targeted him twice out of 3 times. I'm like, you're playing 5 color, dude. You probably have the best things for me. So, yeah, Gonti's a better defender than Fibblethip. I think it's like necessary to play at least 1 or 2 of these like enters the battlefield gets you 1 thing for a decent rate. Gonti has more selection, and it can get things out of your library, which can be really important. But Fibblethip just like gets there, you know. Plus he's cute. But what would I cut for them? Just more card draw, better card draw. Yeah, just this is just legendary based card draw is mainly the reason I'm playing them. The Peregrine Dynamo. I haven't played with this too much yet. It has definitely a lot of theoretical play to it. Only as an investment of 3 mana once, and then 1 mana post haste. But and it can block. It is a blocker. Has haste, so you can use it immediately. But it's just not that exciting of a card. And that maybe that's not important, but I just can't see this like popping off super much, right? Like if I have Purphoros out, it's only at like double 1 Purphoros trigger. Let's see, like it doesn't play with Lavinia or Carter. It's really best if Atali and Atraxa, to be honest, or like a Tejada. But everything else, it's like we're getting like the piecemeal type thing situation. So it might not live. This is more like a future sight type thing. It might not live to stand up to the rest of the deck in the future. But I am glad I'm getting to play with it. Always thought it was interesting. Then we get the Ringo South. This is ramp. It tempts you first, so you can make one of your creatures legendary, and then you reveal cards on top of your library until you reveal X lands or X number of legends you control. Put them on the battlefield tapped, and rest of the bottom of your library in random order. This is a card that I have tried. I've cast it multiple times. I've played this deck probably around 6 to 8 times so far. I've cast this like 2 or 3 times. It has gotten me like 2 lands effectively, but this is more like a late game card. I have gotten like 5 or 6 lands once. But this does not do. It's not as fast as I want it. I typically want my ramp to be like either really good immediately or really good just by itself at all times. Like, for example, let's look for a card that's kind of similar. Maybe like Relic of Legends is a good like similar card. It's Legends Matter, but it gives us the effect immediately, so it's completely different. What would I cut this for? I might try actually playing Honor Worn Shaku, which is Relic of Legends for colorless. This deck isn't playing so low to the ground of colors that isn't irrelevant. So it might be nice to have, and we can tap the Might Stone, the Weak Stone, and other things that are legendary that aren't creatures, like Planeswalkers, to get mana. So that might be more effective in this deck, but I'm going to keep trying this for a little bit longer, keep that other card in mind, and yeah. The Ring Tempts You isn't super relevant in this deck, even though we do have like 3 cards that do it. It is cool to have like make a non-legendary creature legendary for whatever reason. There are like if we're playing Joder or something that is kind of relevant for the boost, but it's just not that. It's just not consistently that great. Yeah. Then we got, let's do the last two together. Got Tivit and Samwise the Stout-Hearted. Like I said earlier, I'm trying Samwise. I love the art. It is the alt border, and it has play, but the main issue of Sam is that, like, I don't know, I have a hard time envisioning situations where I want this to, I hold up mana for this, right? Obviously, you can like play this, get a fetch land back. That's the base rate. That's not too bad. But the high ceiling is that I don't know. Like a mana dork dies. Like, what do I want to get back? To be honest, there's like not. I'd rather my recursion be a lot stronger, a lot more effective, or like has ETB flicker ability. This really only works if Emil. Doesn't really work with the doublers at all. I mean, it works if the ring tempts you. The ring tempts you regardless of whether or not you return a card, but it just isn't. I'm not really sure like how effective this card really is. I haven't drawn it yet, so we're gonna see if I never want to search it either, so it's like one of those cards that greases the wheels. And we have Tivit. Obviously, I would take this out if I was going to stop going infinite. It's always nice to have like at least one infinite combo in the deck. But like I said, this has a lot of upsides that I think sort of enable it to be really great besides. I don't really want to get rid of Urza because it has a lot of play with like Samwise, and it has play with other cards because of tapping abilities and just being able to get things off the top. And yeah, I mean, Urza is a lot more fun of a card, in my opinion. Tivit is like the main reason I would keep Urza over Tivit. So, but I think out of all these cards, this is the one that I would replace the last. Then Peregrine Drake, and then all the other shit. So, yeah, that's the deck. I will close the deck. I was gonna go over and like show you like how many ETBs I have. I know it's over like 30 or something like that. Almost everything's legendary except the majority of the ramp and whatnot. So that's the deck. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a nice day. Bye bye for now.